As you know, Assignmentg Berlin is based on a historic event, as Ferrer had appropriately titled a docudrama. It's a documentary based on historic facts, but also presented in an artistic manner. The story builds up to the assassination of Talat Pasha in 1921 in Berlin. Who was Talat Pasha? I think our audience is well familiar. Talat Pasha was one of the triumvirate of Ittihad and Terakwe who organized the Armenian genocide. He was the prime minister and minister of the interior, and recently a Turkish historian wrote a book based on his black book, Talat's black book. Whoever was not convinced that genocide was premeditated can go and check that black book, because Talat had already written down which areas Armenians are concentrated, how many Armenians live in different regions, and as the genocide was in progress, he was getting reports from the field what percentage of the people were killed and what percentage were sent to Derzor. So even today's computer can hardly follow that kind of a very planned genocide. Another very important argument that is brought against genocide is that genocide was not premeditated. But we said that Talat's black book confirms beyond any reasonable doubt that there was a premeditated genocide. The other argument is that, well, Jewish genocide was approved at the rule of court in Berlin, in Germany, but Armenians didn't have that kind of a court. But in reality, there were 1919 military courts in Istanbul, and they are very well documented. In 1945, technology was so advanced that documentation was very easy compared to 1940 and 1950. But despite that, Turkish government had proper documentation, and they used those documents at military tribunals in Istanbul, and they convicted all the leaders of the Armenian genocide perpetrators to hanging. And actually, some of the minor figures were hanged. But the major figures, Talat, Enver, Cemal Azmi, they were taken to Malta, which was a military base, British military base. And then when the politics in Turkey, in Asia Minor, started changing, they smuggled some of them to different countries. And Talat was smuggled to Germany under German protection, and he felt safe. Although he always said that I'm sure my end will come in the hands of either Britishers or the Armenians, but he was right in the second case. Yeah. But today is also very important for me to remember Sona. She was such a warm-hearted Armenian, so talented. And she was the scriptwriter. She did a thorough research. And I think before we present the movie, it would be justified to read her biography in a few lines. Sona Tuhanian. Sona was born and raised in Syracuse, New York. She was born Sona Dabanian, graduated from Syracuse University in 1956 with a BA in political science and a minor in English. Attended Armenian classes for 1 year, 1957, at Hamaskain Nushan Palanjan Gemaran in Beirut. Researched and wrote the script of Assignmentg Berlin and served as dialogue supervisor during the shoot. Avid skier, tennis player, and growing up in Syracuse, she was a runner in AYF. She was also member for a few reading clubs, such as Huntington Woods Study Club. She has been a member of Armenian Women's Club, Vasbragal Society, ARS, PEO. Without her support, enthusiasm, and efforts, Assignmentg Berlin would not have been possible. The story you will see when the assignment takes place, when these perpetrators were condemned to die, and they escaped justice. Tashnak Tsukun had a special youth group who were there for revenge, and that group was guided by Shahan Natali. These idealistic young people, they were selfless and they didn't mind to sacrifice their life to bring justice to the Armenian cause. Now, after the movie, you will ask, was it a murder? Was it an assassination? I would say that was administration of justice.
I consider it my duty to present to the court 5 telegrams originally received by the governor of Aleppo. These telegrams categorically and unequivocally prove that Talat personally gave the order to annihilate all of them, including the children. These are cipher telegrams. They have been decoded, translated, and authenticated. This telegram, dated September 16th, 1915, reads as follows. It has been previously communicated to you that the government has decided to destroy all Armenians. An end must be put to their existence. No regard must be paid to either age or sex. Those who oppose this order and decision cannot remain on the official staff of the empire. Signed, Minister of the Interior, Talat. I believe that the jury understands and feels that the accused had the unconditional belief that Talat was, in fact, the real author of those massacres.
Your Honors, in the mind of the accused, Talat was defined as responsible. In fact, it is precisely wherein his motivation lay, making him guilty. It is absurd to assume that Talat was solely responsible.
Based upon the testimonies that we have heard, Talat, as Minister of the Interior, was the real author of these crimes, and it is naive to think otherwise.
All the evidence has been presented. All the testimonies of the witnesses have been heard. Summations by the prosecution and defense will now be heard. A crime has been committed. You, the jury, must decide whether the accused is guilty or not guilty.
Your Honors, gentlemen of the jury, I contend this was a premeditated crime. I demand a death sentence for the accused.
Your Honors, gentlemen of the jury, If we accept the barbaric destruction of innocent people anywhere in the world for whatever reason, then no one is to be held responsible, and it would be referred to as an unfortunate incident. Asia Minor's past has always been bloody. Does Dr. Koenig mean to infer that, this being the case, we, the rest of the world, should ignore these bloodbaths? Acts of this nature should be tried in international courts to prevent them from happening again. And that is why we are here today, in this very courtroom, gentlemen. If any of us had listened, it would not be necessary to be here today fighting for justice. Our law states that it must be proven that there were no external factors or compulsions motivating this crime. If there is any doubt in your mind, if you cannot prove that no such factors existed, then you must acquit the accused. Not only is the life of the accused at stake, but the honor of Germany. I categorically deny that Talat was a guest of Germany. I categorically deny that our government would welcome such a traitor coming under an assumed name. I would have said nothing of the political implications if the prosecutor had not made an issue out of it. If he had not said that in Berlin, Germany's greatest ally was assassinated. Talat and his colleagues were allies of the German and Prussian militarists, not the German people. Of what strategic importance could there be in countless isolated villages inhabited by a handful of defenseless people? All this talk of strategic necessity is sheer nonsense. Who could have blamed William Tell if, instead of splitting the apple from his son's head, he had split the heart of the tyrant with his first bolt? Law and logic alone cannot explain the truth that the soul has its own understanding. Is it inconceivable that a thing may be morally right and yet legally wrong? The accused had done what he had because of a deep conviction that he was morally right. That was his only understanding, his only reality. The avenger, it was he who came forth representing humanity against inhumanity. For 1,000 years, the youngest son of Armenia has stood behind this man, carrying the banner of truth, vengeance, and humanity. He leaped against the fiend who decided and ordered the extermination of an entire nation. And now, gentlemen of the jury, you decide what took place in his soul at the moment he committed his crime. You decide whether he was responsible. And consider, the eyes of humanity are upon you and your decision. And those eyes are the eyes of justice. Your Honors, gentlemen of the jury, the defense rests its case.
You have been instructed in your duties. You will retire to the jury room. The court will await your decision. The court is recessed until the jury is ready to return its verdict. Chairman, are you ready with your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor. As to whether the accused is guilty of having killed Talat Pasha, I, Otto Reinisch, Chairman of the jury, with honor and conscience, testify to the jury's decision. No, not guilty.